Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your new favorite cricket fan channel, Willow and Leather. This is Shravan joining you yet again. This is after the first Eliminator game of the IPL 2024 playoffs, which was Royal Challengers Bengaluru against Rajasthan Royals. Royal Challengers Bengaluru bowing out of the tournament after a fairly lackluster performance against Rajasthan Royals. We'll do a quick summary of the game and then I'll talk about a couple of other additional things as well now that the season is done for RCB. Firstly, on the game itself, a very what we call in football terms a very cagey encounter where both the teams kind of looked a little iffy, especially in their respective batting innings, where neither of the teams was kind of looking to be ultra aggressive, which seems to be the theme of the year this time around. All the teams that look to go aggressive at the top from ball number one seem to be the ones who are doing a lot better than some of the other teams. But unfortunately, both the teams not really, getting off to great starts as a part of this particular game. Now, for RCB, obviously losing the toss, yes, it is a factor. Yes, there was going to be due, so it does put the pressure on the batsmen to score a few extra runs, which they failed to do, unfortunately. From Rajasthan Royals bowling standpoint, terrific start from Trent Bolt, bowling 3 overs on the trot and conceding just 6 runs in those 3 overs in the power play. Especially when bowling against the likes of Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis, that is an absolutely fantastic effort from him. Eventually, in that third over of his, picking up the key wicket of Faf du Plessis too. So that was great to see from Trent Bolt. And in those middle overs, Ravichandran Ashwin comes in and does what he does best, tying up the runs from his end and eventually picking up a couple of crucial wickets too. So absolutely fantastic bowling effort, and I think that is where Rajasthan Royals have been such a well-rounded team for the last 2 or 3 years now, is that their bowling attack is absolutely solid. When you have the likes of Trent Bolt, who is probably one of the, if not the best swing bowler up front in the power play, and partner him with someone like Avesh Khan, who's come, who's been growing year after year, and he did exceptionally well in this game as well. Despite going for a lot of runs in his first couple of overs, I think he came back very strong, which I think was crucial to RR's performance with the ball. And then you have the likes of Ravichandran Ashwin and Yuzvendra Chahal, two absolute world-class spin bowling options. One is the off-spinner, one is the leg spinner. And then someone like Sandeep Sharma with his variations and his guile and experience to come and bowl at the death as well. I think that is a very, very impressive combination of bowlers to have in the team, and that quality of bowling definitely shone through today in the performance. And absolute props to Rajasthan for keeping the batsmen quiet all through the innings. In the sense the RCB batters did get a lot of shots going, but as soon as there was one person getting into the 20s or 30s, they eventually managed to pick up that batsman's wicket and again putting the pressure back on the new batsman. So that was kind of the trend of the innings for RCB, kind of stop-start. People would get starts but then give away their wickets. Definitely not a day where one of the batters put their hand up and said they would carry the innings through. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Cam Green looked like he would probably score a good 50 plus runs today, but unfortunate again to get to those 20s and 30s and kind of give up his wicket once more. Rajat Patidar started off very slowly, scoring 5 runs of 10 balls, but then did extremely well to catch up and up the scoring rate. Took Avesh Khan for a 6 first ball, but then Avesh Khan came back with those cutters that he bowled, short pitch cutters, which are well outside off stump, and he got the wickets of both Rajat Patidar and Dinesh Karthik with that similar kind of a delivery. So a very well thought out and well executed plan from Avesh Khan, so props to him as well. Batting wise, I think RR again started off a little cagey. very tentative from both Yashasvi Jaiswal and Tom Kohler-Cadmore to begin with. I think RCB was unfortunate not to pick up Jaiswal's wicket in that second over from Yash Dayal, with an edge flying off off to first slip, and Cam Green got there, but unfortunately the ball just didn't stick. And post that, I think Jaiswal kind of started picking things up and then hit a few wonderful boundaries. Glenn Maxwell dropping an absolute sitter in the field. Again, that early wicket could have maybe caused a few more problems for Rajasthan Royals. Game of ifs and buts, but unfortunately that didn't happen as well. There were a few late hiccups for Rajasthan Royals. Dhruv Jurel getting run out, again thanks to a fantastic piece of commitment in the field from Virat Kohli, picking up an important wicket when the run of flow was against RCB completely. And after a little bit of a quick-fire partnership between Parag and Hetmeyer, both of them succumbed as well, although a little too late in the game. I think if both those wickets had come a couple of overs earlier, things could have probably been a little bit more different. But towards the end, Rovman Powell keeping his cool and guiding his team home. And eventually, you have to say, for the majority of that match, RCB was always behind the 8 ball. I think ever since Trent Bolt's spell in the power play, we were always trying to play catch up, and just when we felt like we were catching up, we would lose another wicket in the batting and let go of the advantage again. The absolutely fantastic, well-rounded performance from Rajasthan. Very, very, very well deserved opportunity for them to go into the second qualifier now and face Sunrisers Hyderabad. And as for RCB, tough luck. By far the biggest factor, not just in this particular match, but I think for the overall season, RCB's troubles have primarily been extrapolated by the absolutely terrible form, and not just the form, but the approach and mindset of Glenn Maxwell, right? And I have been very critical of him in some of my earlier videos, when he was playing in some of those initial games for the team. Absolutely poor run of games. It's not a mere coincidence that RCB's fortunes were tied to whether Maxwell was in the playing 11 or not. All the games that he featured in the team in those first 8 games, we didn't really have a good run of games. And even the last game against Chennai Super Kings was the one game where he was able to make a decent impact in the limited chance that he got. And I'm sure the team would have been banking on him as a big name player, a big ticket player, to really come good in the crucial games like the Eliminator. But again, absolutely unforgivable approach and mentality to the game. I have absolutely no issues or concerns if the execution part doesn't come off. That is never an issue for me. Yes, you will have your good days and you will have your bad days. You might get outfoxed by a bowler. You might just have a specific plan in mind, but it might not come off. All of that is absolutely fine. That's what makes the sport, any sport, interesting, the variable part of it, right? But to approach a game like this Eliminator the way he did, coming in at such a crucial spot in the batting order, and now in hindsight it just feels like, guys like Mahipal Nomror and Dinesh Karthik should probably have come up ahead of him, just given his run of form. But I think just given the minor or the impact he was able to make with those few balls that he got in the previous game, I think the team probably felt that he could try and build from there and really make an impact. But absolutely shambolic mindset to try and go after the very first ball. You're a world-class batsman. At least give yourself the opportunity to play out that over, especially when Ashwin is on top of the batting attack. He's bowled 3 economical overs already. He's just picked up a wicket. You need a decent partnership now to set the platform for the rest of the batting to really explode towards the last 5 overs of the game. But man, oh man, that shot really exemplified or personified what Maxwell's season has looked like, and it is absolutely shameful that someone at that quality or class is letting down the team, in such a big manner. Again, I have absolutely no issues when people go through a lean patch just because of the lack of form or execution doesn't come off, right? We saw this with Dinesh Karthik last season. All of last season, he just could not score runs no matter what he tried, which is absolutely fine. It happens, right? Everyone's gone through lean patches. Even someone like a Virat Kohli went through a lean patch a couple of years ago. Things happen. But when your intent and approach to the game itself is so primitive, where despite being a world-class batsman, if you're not in a good run of form, your only approach is to try and hit one out of the park to get some sort of confidence, that is a massive warning bell for me. Someone who scored 300 plus runs, 400 plus runs in the last couple of seasons for RCB, coming in the middle order, I think he really did an excellent job in the last couple of years. But this time around, the batting has been it's not just disappointing; it is actually near criminal at that point, right? He's such a he was identified as such a crucial cog in the wheel for RCB, and when you have other people on the team giving it their 200%, trying to apply themselves and really get the team out of trouble, as the senior player in the team, I think it has to be your responsibility to try and give yourself that chance for the first few balls, right? I don't think a single RCB fan would have been mad at him, not just in this game, but in any of the previous games that he played as well, if he had just given himself the opportunity to play 5-6 balls, to just get a feel of things and then go after the bowlers. It's not like, all the other bowlers around him are bowlers that he cannot hit out of the park. He can pretty much, go after any single bowler on any given day. But the fact that as a batsman, you don't give yourself that opportunity to just at least play out this over where a wicket has already fallen and just see this over out, maybe just rotate the strike, give it to the other set batsman on the other end and get your eye in, play a couple of overs and then get going. Just the fact that he refused to do that all through the season, including this extremely crucial eliminator game, that really showcases, I think, his poor mental fortitude. Yes, he's played some mind-blowing innings in the past, but this kind of an approach really puts the team in deep trouble. It is almost a foregone conclusion that as soon as Maxwell enters, the first 2 or 3 balls he's going to be back in the pavilion again. That's how predictable he had become this season, which is rather unfortunate. Right, but obviously, to summarize it for RCB, this loss brings an end to a very topsy-turvy season for us, where we were definitely well and truly below par for the first half. Yes, we had some gaping holes in our bowling department, but the fact that even the batsmen didn't really come together in the first half hurt us big time. But that was followed by one of the most incredible fightbacks and comebacks that I've seen in the sport for a long time, and it was absolutely a dream run to jump from 10th place to 4th place in a run of 6 games and find your way into the playoffs, which was an absolutely incredible effort, but unfortunately they couldn't carry the same kind of intent into the Eliminator. Intent, yes, was a little bit lacking compared to some of the previous games, but more than the intent, I think the execution was just way off in this Eliminator, specifically in the batting department. I think 170 plus runs was never going to be enough on that pitch. We did try and claw our way back and try and put ourselves ahead of the game, but that opportunity never came. We picked wickets, but they were all coming a little later than what we would have hoped for. So for, like I said, for almost the entire 40 overs, Rajasthan Royals were ahead of RCB in that game. Tough luck. Overall, I think the team kind of finished just about par, where they probably should have finished. Making it to the playoffs was a dream run, obviously, but then having said that, I wouldn't have expected RCB to be in the 10th place after 8 games, with the kind of batting power they had and a couple of bright spots in the bowling unit as well. But overall, again, just goes to show that it's the bowlers who win you tournaments, right? The batters can try and do as much as you want, but there are going to be days where the bowlers have to step up, and those genuine world-class bowlers are the ones who will deliver results for you. But unfortunately, RCB definitely lacked that. Obviously, a world-class seamer and a world-class spinner is what this team really needed. Specifically, especially in the beginning of the tournament, someone that the rest of the bowling attack could kind of rally behind. I think that was definitely lacking, and it even highlighted the lack of faith of the management team in some of the spinning options that we had as well, right? I've talked about this in my previous videos. Karan Sharma played the first game, and then for the next 3 games in Bengaluru, he was rested. No spinner, no genuine leg spinner picked, and then once we went away from Bengaluru again, instead of Karan Sharma, they brought in Himanshu Sharma. So that just really goes to show the kind of level of trust and faith that they had in the likes of Karan Sharma to begin with. Karan Sharma kind of fought his way back into contention with some key bowling performances, and especially that batting innings against KKR, taking Mitchell Stark for 3 consecutive sixes. But then again, I think there is definitely a gap there in terms of a world-class spinner that was needed. So that is something that obviously the team will need to address. But having said that, I think a lot of positives to be happy about as well. The biggest one obviously being Kohli's fantastic run with the bat, and not just the amount of runs he scored, but the approach that he's taken to upping his strike rate, obviously going a little bit more aggressive right from the get-go. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about how much he has improved his strike rate against the spin bowlers, which has been absolutely fantastic to see. He was able to pull out a couple of new shots like the sweep, which is not done in a long time. But even with all of those things, I think just his intent towards attacking the pace bowlers as well was a lot more than what I had seen in some of the previous seasons. So this is like a redefined Virat Kohli, and it's absolutely fantastic to see him trying to reinvent himself and keep himself relevant in this kind of an aggressive T20 game. Despite being at that age, and despite having achieved all that he has, it's great to see that hunger and willingness for him to try and keep getting better, keep improving, and not to mention his ever-present aggression and intent in the field. He's an absolute gun fielder, beast on the field. And it was kind of reflected in those 3 or 4 runouts that he got in this last few games for the team as well. The captain, Faf du Plessis, was good in patches, both with the bat and with his captaincy and decision making as well. Definitely didn't start off very well, either with the bat nor with some of his decision making. There were a lot of question marks that I myself had around how he was rotating his bowlers, what was the logic behind picking some of the players in the playing 11 or 12. So all of those were a little confusing to begin with, but once we got on that winning run, I think he found his faith in some of those players as well, and he started coming good with the bat too, which was great to see. But again, unfortunately, it was more of a stop-start kind of a season for him as well. Probably a little below par by his standards. Given the amount of runs that he scored for RCB over the last 3 years, this was probably his lowest returns. But despite that, I think he did start peaking at the right time for the team. Unfortunate to not get any runs, not too many runs in the Eliminator, but I think overall an average season for him. If at all it was his last game for RCB, the guy is 39. A lot will depend on whether he feels confident enough to be able to play at that competitive level for another 3 years or not. If he feels confident in himself and can, really assure the franchise that he will have it in him to, push through for another 3 years at the same levels of fitness and batting ability, I think he could be someone that we look at as a retention option, but given the age and given the lack of competitive cricket that he has throughout the year, he is playing a bunch of different T20 leagues around the globe. But I think it still isn't enough of a grueling enough circuit for him through the season. So yeah, that was Faf du Plessis. Like I said, if it was his last game for RCB, a lot of applause and thanks for all the great work that he's done. I think he was a good leader overall. Tactically, I feel like he could have done a lot better. But as a people leader, as a people person, I think he brought the team together very well. Showed a great amount of respect for the seniors and juniors in the team alike, and to be able to manage some of the strong personalities in that dressing room, especially the likes of Virat Kohli. I think he did brilliantly well there. A few other positives for the team, obviously the likes of Rajat Patidar, Yash Dayal, Will Jacks, Cameron Green. They were all key in RCB's fight back and the comeback that we had. And everyone really started putting together a string of consistent performances over the last several games, which was great to see. You could pretty much expect at least 2 or 3 of these guys to come good in every single game, and that I think was a big factor in RCB's resurgence in the second half of the tournament. And for me personally, I think these 4 names, Patidar, Dayal, Will Jacks and Cam Green, will probably be on the top of the list for retentions after Virat Kohli, of course. So we'll see how things shape up for next year. Let's spend a minute talking about Dinesh Karthik as well. Absolute gem of a player, gem of a human being as well. It has been an absolute pleasure watching him playing for RCB. One of those players that I was very happy when RCB picked him up in the auction. Has been around the circuit for a long time. He is one of the only 7 players to have played all 17 seasons of the IPL. And I just read a stat earlier today that he has missed only 2 games in the entire span of the 17 years that he's played in the IPL. He has played 250 plus games and he has missed just 2 IPL games in that duration, out of which one of the games was last year when he was an impact player. He was an unused impact sub. I think RCB won that game comfortably and we didn't even have to bring on Dinesh Karthik as an impact sub in that particular game. So that just goes to show the level of commitment and consistency and the level of physical fitness that he's had to maintain through these years as well. So absolute star of a man, absolute servant of the game. And especially after last season, the kind of lackluster performance he had last season, not just with the bat, but I think he was very, very shockingly poor with his wicket keeping last time as well. It got to that point where, as I was mentioning, he was starting to be used as an impact player and they started bringing on Anuj Rawat for the wicket keeping part for the most of last year. So his wicket keeping skills had gone down drastically last year, but and I personally had kind of written him off, but how he has been able to rebuild that physicality, rebuild the skills, rebuild the temperament and mindset, and come back again at such an age is absolutely remarkable to see. His life journey itself and his career trajectory over the last several years is an incredible story in itself. His professional career, his personal life, all of that is a very, very motivating story for a lot of youngsters, and not just for athletes but for people in general. So as I said, absolute gem of a human being. So very, very happy for him. From all likelihood, it looks like he will be retiring at the end of the season. So if yes, then absolutely hats off to that guy as well, and thanks to him for all his great work and service for this franchise too. So yeah, that was my recap of the game and quick summary of RCB season, a wrap up of RCB season. Again, stop-start season. Definitely would have would have loved if we could have pushed on and gone to the finals, but given where we were at the middle of the season, this is a result that I'll be very happy to take. What I can only hope is that this season has given the likes of Andy Flower and Mo Bobart the chance to really look at players in up close and personal, and really help them determine who are the kind of characters and the players and what skill levels they bring, and who are these players that we want to retain for next season. And having seen the track record of someone like Andy Flower, I'm fairly optimistic that I think he will help build together a much more well-rounded, strong, solid team, which I think is absolutely crucial for the IPL. Yes, with a lot of heart and grit and determination, you can try and perform some miracles, like RCB almost did, but it shouldn't come down to having to rely on miracles. I think a lot of the work for building a title winning team is done at the auction table, and it is very important that we look like a title winning side on paper to begin with, right? Yes, if we have a few loopholes or gaps in the lineup, we can still try and power through, especially with the likes of Virat Kohli in the dressing room. He, pumps everyone up and tries to get the best out of everyone as well. But it shouldn't come down to that. As you can see, on paper, probably this year and for the last couple of years, one of the most well-rounded teams has been Rajasthan Royals, and it's no surprise that they're in the playoffs and playing consistently well. Yeah, I mean, they lost the last 4 games, but despite that, on the big day when it's a knockout time, on paper they had many more match winners and people with the right kind of experience to be able to see them through, and that's the kind of team we need to be looking at building here at RCB as well. I think on the batting front we have a few bases covered. I think we've identified a few exciting talents that we can take forward for the next season, but on the bowling department I think there needs to be a severe overhaul, and we need to shell out a lot of money to bring in some world-class players into that bowling attack. I'll be doing much more in-depth deep dives around the future of the franchise, around potential retentions, releases, and auction strategies, and all of that in the coming months. So there'll be a little bit more in-depth analysis in that, obviously. But just wanted to at least do a very quick high-level first thoughts kind of a thing as soon as the season got over for RCB. So that was that. On a separate note, a lot of things happening on social media after RCB's exit. A lot of trolling as usual. I think it's kind of fairly expected for fans of other franchises, some specific franchises, to be a little salty after the recent results, and for them to try and pick on the players and try and pick on the team. Happens as a part of social media banter. But one of the most surprising things that surfaced today was the fact that Tushar Deshpande from the Chennai Super Kings team was actually sharing Instagram posts of another Chennai team fan club, which was trying to troll RCB with some references. So that is where I feel it becomes a little silly and ignorant, where fans can do it, although I don't condone it too much. But fans, I think that's what kind of keeps them engrossed in the game as well, trying to one up their potential rivals or opponents, etc., which makes sense. But for players to be trying to get into this kind of mudslinging contest, I think that's absolutely embarrassing for him. As players, you are expected to kind of have a little bit of decency and decorum in how you behave or react towards other teams, and how respectful you are, right? And it's in such poor taste and such a salty response when your team has been knocked out to be able to troll another team as soon as they get eliminated, right? That's just not the right spirit. And as I said, fans doing it, I can totally understand it. But for players and even ex-players like Ambati Raidu to be so salty after that result, I think it's just very it's in very poor taste, especially when someone like Ambati Raidu is brought on as an expert or as a commentator. At least try and pretend to be a little neutral if you can, right? I know it doesn't come very easily, but at least try and be a little neutral. But for the players to be doing, absurd things like this is just embarrassing. He did later delete that post, Tushar Deshpande, but it's out there for the rest of the world to see. Obviously, that's the beauty of the internet, I guess. Unfortunately, but yeah. I just wanted to highlight that at least as a not so great thing. I don't think there's any place for that in the sport, especially from the players or from ex-players. But here we are, down to the last three teams of the season. Rajasthan Royals playing Sunrisers Hyderabad in the second qualifier. Good luck to both of them. The attention moves to Chennai now for that second qualifier and for the finals. KKR will obviously be, kicking back in their seats and enjoying that game that'll happen between RR and SRH. Should be an exciting contest. RR definitely have a much more powerful bowling attack, which I think they will need to neutralize the threats like Travis Head, Abhishek Sharma, and Heinrich Klaasen in that SRH batting lineup. And I think the SRH bowling does look a little bit weaker on paper, but it will be an exciting game nonetheless. And the winner will go on to meet Kolkata Knight Riders for the finals, so that will be an exciting contest as well, no matter who makes it to the finals. So yeah, best of luck to all the remaining three teams. May the best team win. As for us, as I said, tough luck for RCB, but we'll come back stronger next year. There's always next year for us as RCB fans, so there's no doubt in the level of support and encouragement that the fans will show towards this team. I think that's pretty much a given, and hopefully RCB can put on a more consistent run next season. But yeah, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in and for listening to me blabber on and rant about a few things. I really appreciate all the love and support that people are showing. Please do like this video, share it with your friends and family. Try and make this channel a little bit popular. I'd love to keep making more and more content on this. Post the IPL, obviously there's the T20 World Cup coming up, so I'll be doing extensive coverage on that. There's also the Major League Cricket happening in our backyard in the US right after that in July as well, so I'll be doing some up close coverage for that as well. So please do stay tuned, and thanks for all your support. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.